And prepaid legal essentially is exactly as it sounds. You pay a little bit, not just individuals and families, but businesses as well, pay a little bit every single month to be able to have access to a network of law firms all across North America. And it's so affordable that everyone, can access that. It's not out of reach. Like nowadays, attorneys can go $200 to $300 an hour. I had just to give you an example, I had a woman that called me up, wanted to use the service because she's on, fixed income, she's disabled, elderly, and she's been paying her, rent every single month for like 10 years. Well, she just got a notice from the police that she has 2 weeks to get out of her apartment. So she contacts the landlord. She's like, "What is this?" And he said he hadn't been paying his mortgage payments.
Oh, no.
The landlord hadn't. And so she didn't know what to do. And so when she looked, and she really didn't have an option, because $200 to $300 to call an attorney, they would have been like, "Well, we can't help you," because she couldn't have afforded their help. For the most part. And some attorneys do. And I have friends that are attorneys, and they do a lot of pro bono work. God bless them for that, to help people out of a bind. But essentially, we were able to get her on the phone with an attorney at a very affordable rate to be able to find out what her rights are to be able to move forward on that. And that's what it is essentially not only do people able to access to have unlimited advice and guidance from attorneys across North America, but they can take action. If it's applicable by law, they can have letters or phone calls written on their behalf. They get their will done. They can be represented in court, talk to a tax attorney, have representation in court, and also have up to, countless hours, not countless, I can't say that, or else I get hung out to dry, but about, 75 hours of trial time, prepaid for if you're ever sued.
I guess some of us who are a bit younger know how to use that Google thing and that internet thing.
And I do.
I think George Bush called it that internet.
That internet.
That's my Texas accent right there. But when we have a problem or something comes up, the first thing we do is we go and research that stuff ourselves. Who knows about how good the information we find is, but not everybody has that available to them. So I guess, and I'm not trying to just do a plug for your service, but I guess that most of us, our legal strategy is, cross your fingers and hope nothing comes up.
No, and that's what predominantly everybody does because they can't afford legal services or they don't know who to call. And unfortunately in this day and age, and we're seeing this a lot in people that are trying to fix their housing situation because of the mortgage crisis. They're being taken advantage of by a lot of people that are claiming to be able to support them, taking obnoxious, $3,000 to $4,000 retainer fees, and then disappearing off the planet. You do that to a handful of people, and you could get a nice annual salary. Not to give anybody any, fundraising ideas to do that to people, but it's atrocious what's going on out there in the world, and so people don't really necessarily trust attorneys.
Really?
Exactly.
Really?
No, I mean, not,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All of my friends are attorneys, not really. So it sounds to me like this is kind of similar to insurance for attorneys. Like maybe you don't need it very often, but if you do and you don't have something like this, you may end up paying a stiff fee or being in trouble if you don't get a lawyer and go your own way or something like that. Is that a fair assessment to make?
Absolutely, and that's what it is that it's there for you when you need it, because I would guarantee you that not having it at any point will always cost you more than having it.
So let's talk about some of the things that people who don't have legal representation, because most people don't. Come on, lawyers are for rich people. I don't have a lawyer.
Exactly.
But what are some of the problems that people run into that they need legal service for? Just like your everyday person, not necessarily even a landlord or things like that. What are some problems that come up?
Well, the first and foremost reason why people are using it, because of what's going on with the housing industry right now, is that people are calling because they want to avoid a foreclosure. Lenders are not necessarily working with them. So what they do is that they'll call the attorneys, get advice and guidance, and sometimes foreclosure is inevitable. They can't avoid it because they've let it progress so far. But what our plan does is it allows people to kind of be proactive, so they may be able to get the right advice, so they can make the right decisions before it comes to that point. Outside of that, we have, employer-employee issues. So people, I talked to a gentleman who was an engineer, was let go from his company after 23 years, and there was no severance. They said, essentially, we don't need you anymore, and let him go. So he was wondering what kind of legal action that he can take. And that's something I need to follow up with, and I make sure that, they're taken care of as well.
What about people who may have lost their jobs and maybe have to go down the bankruptcy down that path? Do you guys help with that as well?
Advice and guidance from the attorneys, absolutely. So they can get financial advice. We don't do anything for like credit repair or anything like that, but most of the attorneys, they can take a look at what you have going on they might be able to avoid a bankruptcy.
I have a question for you. I don't know if you'll know the answer to it or not, but I'm interested because, you know, a lot of people have had their credit damaged for reasons that may be within their control or maybe outside of their control. But do you know about these groups that do credit counseling and stuff like that, and they say, oh, we'll consolidate your debts, and that is that a scam, generally speaking, or is that legit? Do you know about that?
I can't speak to it because I've never used
Can we call one of your lawyers on the phone right now?
Absolutely. No, I think it's good is because there are a lot of scam artists out there right now, and so making sure that you check with the Better Business Bureau about reputable credit correction companies, you know, that would just be my advice, not as a prepaid legal, you know, associate or anything else. I think that's just sound advice to make sure that the company you're working with does do well, because there are a lot of people getting taken advantage of right now.
I'm just curious. You know, they say there's no thing as a free lunch, and yet everybody's out there selling a free lunch all the time.
Exactly.
And they turn some of us cynical. We're like, wait, I thought Mom told me don't take a free lunch and no candy from strangers.
Yeah.
So what are some of the services when people first start out with prepaid legal? What do they usually take advantage of first?
Usually it's the will, because the American Bar Association says that only 3 out of 10 Americans actually have a will in place. And you know, as of California is an automatic will state. So if you don't have a will in place, the state of California will definitely have that, and you might not like the results of where that comes from.
The state, if I don't have a will, the state gets to keep stuff? Is that what you said?
Well, they don't get to keep stuff, but what thing is that your estate will go into probate until they determine who, you know, if you have children, who the legal guardian's going to be. If you have assets, how is that going to be, you know, distributed? But in doing so, they may take 40% for themselves just for, you know, being, you know,
gosh, and
you being a pain.
In the case of a wealthy man like me, 40% of $10 is $4.
Well, that's pretty good, though. I mean, that'll buy you, what, you know, one of those...
Like almost a hamburger.
Yeah.
Almost a hamburger or something like that. How do people... I know that some employers look to you to provide this as a benefit for their employees. Can you talk about that?
It's the largest employee benefit program right now going across nationwide because, one, it's the employees can choose. It's an optional benefit. And second, because a lot of employers are cutting down on their benefits packages in order to save money. The cost of this benefit is so low, but it has such incredible value that it's really sweeping. I mean, just in our community alone, Salinas Valley Memorial Hospital utilizes this as an employee benefit. Monterey Plaza Hotel offers this as an employee benefit. Main Event Transportation offers this. And I could go on all day.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I know.
Can you name all of your clients?
And we'll plug them. Each one, I'm going to give them the number and the website to go each one of those companies.
Let's not say we did, huh?
They would love that.
They offer that to as an employee?
Absolutely. The decision makers looked at our program and they said this is something that every one of our employees can utilize. And you know, and as I mentioned, it's a now benefit. They can get their wills done immediately. They have, and because our service is also retroactive, so for a lot of people that have existing legal issues, they can talk to an attorney about those legal issues right away. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. You don't have to wait a month.
So even if I had something bad that happened, I can join up and there's not like pre-existing conditions like they do with medical?
If you need attorneys to take action, we do have an area, but we offer a 25% member discount after standard attorney rates for anything that is pre-existing where an attorney would have to take action. And that doesn't mean write a letter or make a phone call. That's still covered under a preventative legal area. But if it's something that you had an attorney that needed to show up in court, like a divorce or a DUI, child custody.
I'm not getting divorced. Someone would have to marry me first, and that's not on the horizon.
We have the most litigious society in the world. The majority of the world's attorneys reside right here in the United States. So you would think that it would make sense that some sort of a legal plan would have already been developed, you know, but it has. It was 38 years in the making. And the reason why a lot of people haven't heard about our company is because essentially we're developing an industry. You know, it's not a company that was born in an existing industry.
Right.
So, you know, we absolutely need attorneys because everyone needs to, you know, cover their 6 o'clock, you know, their behind. And if you don't have legal representation and you're able to get access to your rights, you simply don't have any.
Okay.